10 of the most ancient temples in the world. People started to building the temples from ancient times onwards. These houses of worship not at all belong to a single religion, varies as Buddhism, Hinduism, Sikhism, and Taoism. So different temples have different architectural styles and systems. In the following list, we gathered for you 10 of the ancient and biggest temples around the world. If you're interested in knowing where these temples are and how they look like, then please keep watching. Number 1. Temple of Hatshepsut. Hatshepsut Temple is an ancient example of pure visual architecture, and there is simply nothing that can match the beauty and elegance of it. Hatshepsut Temple was built by Queen Hatshepsut during the 18th dynasty in the New Kingdom on the west bank of the Nile under the cliffs of Deir el-Bahari. Its purpose was to become the mortuary temple of Hatshepsut and was known as Holy of Holies. The temple was the neighbor of the mortuary temple of Mentuhotep II, which was used as a primary model. It was dedicated to the god Amun and Hatshepsut herself, who was successful in immortalizing her name through the ages. Queen Hatshepsut's reign was one of the most prosperous and peaceful in Egypt's history. There is evidence that she commissioned military expeditions early on, and she certainly kept the army at peak efficiency, but for the most part, her time as pharaoh is characterized by successful trade, a booming economy, and her many public works projects which employed laborers from across the nation. Number 2. Temple of Amada. The Temple of Amada is the oldest Egyptian temple ever found in Nubia. It was first built by Pharaoh Thutmose III of the 18th dynasty sometime around 1500 BCE. He dedicated the temple to the Egyptian deity Amun and Rehurakti. After Thutmose's death, his son Amenhotep II continued the temple's construction and improved its decorations. Inside of the temple are well preserved, finely cut and reliefs depicting Thutmose III and Amenhotep II being embraced by various Egyptian gods. The temple, along with several other ancient monuments, was relocated in the 1960s when the Egyptian government decided to construct the Aswan High Dam. It was moved near its original location to higher ground where it would be safe from rising water. Number 3. Gobekli Tepe. Located in modern Turkey, Gobekli Tepe is one of the most important archaeological sites in the world. The discovery of this stunning 10,000-year-old site in the 1990s CE sent shockwaves through the archaeological world and beyond, with some researchers even claiming it was the site of the biblical Garden of Eden. The many examples of sculptures and megalithic architecture which made up what is perhaps the world's earliest temple in Gobekli Tepe predate pottery, metallurgy, the invention of writing, the wheel, and the beginning of agriculture. The fact that hunter-gatherer people could organize the construction of such a complex site as far back as the 10th or 11th millennium BC not only revolutionizes our understanding of hunter-gatherer culture, but poses a serious challenge to the conventional view of the rise of civilization. Number 4. Luxor Temple. Luxor Temple is a large ancient Egyptian temple complex located on the east bank of the Nile River in the city today known as Luxor, and was constructed approximately 1400 BCE. The site is known for its avenue of Sphinx and the towering pylon of Ramses II. The structure was constructed during the reigns of several pharaohs, including Amenhotep III, Ramses II, and Tutankhamun, who is credited with much of the temple's decoration. During the Roman era, the temple and its surroundings were a legionary fortress and the home of the Roman government in the area. During the Roman period, a chapel inside the Luxor Temple, originally dedicated to goddess Mut, was transformed into a tetrarchy called chapel and later into a church. Number 5. Baalbak Temple of Bacchus. Located in modern-day Lebanon, the ancient city of Baalbak, also called Heliopolis or City of the Sun, notes its heyday during the Roman period. Its colossal constructions make it one of the most famous sanctuaries of the Roman world and a model of an imperial Roman architecture. From the three temples that has been built is the Temple of Bacchus. The temple is considered to be built between 150 AD to 250 AD. It is often described as the most beautifully decorated temple in the Roman world, and it's certainly one of the best preserved. The temple is enriched by some of the most refined reliefs and sculpture to survive from antiquity. There are 4 sculptures carved within the peristyle that are believed to be depictions of a carina, which would make them the first recognizable representations of Mycenaean architecture. Number 6. Temple of Apollo. The Temple of Apollo is located at Delphi, the center of the ancient Greek world, and was built on the site of 2 earlier temples. The Temple of Apollo was first built around the 7th BC by the 2 legendary architects Trophonius and Agamidas. It was rebuilt after a fire in the 6th BC and was named the Temple of Alcmeonidae in tribute to the noble Athenian family that oversaw its construction with funds from all over Greece and foreign emperors. This temple was also of the Doric order and had 6 columns at the front and 15 columns at the flanks. This temple was destroyed in 373 BC by an earthquake and was rebuilt for the 3rd time in 330 BC. Spintharos, Zenodorus, and Agathon, architects from Corinth. The sculptures that adorned its pediment were the creation of Athenian sculptors Praxius and Androsthenes. It was built to similar proportions and size as the Alcmeonidae version of the temple, with a peristylasis of 6 and 15 columns along the short and long edges respectively. Number 7. Choga Zambil. Choga Zambil is a magnificent 3,300-year-old ancient Elamite complex located 30 kilometers southeast of the ancient city of Susa in the Khuzestan province of western Iran. The principal element of this complex is an enormous brick ziggurat, a large stepped pyramidal temple dedicated to the Elamite divinity Inshushinak, the protector and patron god of Susa. Choga Zambil was founded around 1250 BCE by the Elamite king Untash Napirisha as the religious center of Elam. Its original Elamite name was Dur Untash, meaning place, resident, city, and Untash the Elamite king who built it. The Choga Zambil ziggurat is considered to be the best preserved of its kind and the finest surviving testimony to the once great Elamite civilization. In 1979, Choga Zambil became the first Iranian site to be inscribed on the UNESCO World Heritage List. Number 8. Ziggurat of Ur. The Ziggurat of Ur is a massive terraced building that visually resembles the Mayan pyramids, but was built in ancient Mesopotamia thousands of years before the Mayan pyramids were built. Ziggurats looked like step pyramids and featured anywhere from 2 to 7 levels. As far as design goes, they were very similar to the early Egyptian step pyramids. They were typically built as shrines to the city's patron god. The Great Ziggurat of Ur was originally thought to be a shrine to the moon god Nana. It is thought that the top level of ziggurat was a bedchamber for Nana. Priests would perform sacrifices and other rituals on the top level. The Great Ziggurat of Ur is perhaps the world's best reconstructed ancient ziggurat and has undergone several renovations since it was originally built over 4,000 years ago. Number 9. Angkor Wat. Angkor Wat was built in the first half of the 12th century. Estimated construction time of the temple is 30 years by King Suryavarman II. Its complexity and beauty both attract and distract one's attention. From a distance, Angkor Wat appears to be a colossal mass of stone on one level with a long causeway leading to the center. But close up, it is a series of elevated towers, covered galleries, chambers, porches, and courtyards on different levels linked by stairways. The height of Angkor Wat from the ground to the top of the central tower is greater than it might appear, 213 meters, achieved with 3 rectangular or square levels. Each one is progressively smaller and higher than the one below, starting from the outer limits of the temple. Several architectural lines stand out in the profile of the monument. The eye is drawn left and right to the horizontal aspect of the levels and upward to the soaring height of the towers. The ingenious plan of Angkor Wat only allows a view of all 5 towers from certain angles. Number 10. Borobudur. Borobudur is an important place of worship for Buddhists that considered as one of the most beautiful temples in Indonesia. It is one of the most famous cultural heritage sites, as the form of harmony in achieving the aesthetics of Buddhist architecture on the island of Java. Borobudur Temple is more popular today and around the world. With all those privileges, this site is always becoming a mandatory list for any foreigners that visit Indonesia. And for Indonesians, you must be more familiar with this temple. The Borobudur Temple was built without the use of any adhesive. It is composed of stone blocks. Each piece of stone is arranged without the use of cement or adhesive. These stones are only stacked and spliced with certain patterns to bind each other. Remarkably, it is long-lasting.